Ryan Tannehill is going to join us in 15 minutes. Our nemesis, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
We try to get something out of him. He works very hard to scramble away from the defense and give us nothing. So that's 15 minutes from now. We will try and fail to get anything out of Ryan Tannehill.
I feel like it comes natural to him. I don't feel like he's working very hard. He makes us work very hard, and he seamlessly just gets out of the way.
Yeah.
Dodges us, avoids us.
Well, I'm curious. Help me understand something here, because over time, many people, if you're a long-time listener to this radio show, you've probably developed certain habits that are different from the habits you used to have. And so I am actually curious about this. If you've been listening to this show for a long time, you know that largely we get frustrated around here by the quarterback's inability, any quarterback's inability, to show you his real personality because they're going to get in trouble with teammates or coaches. They don't want to make headlines for anything. So over the years, we've told you again and again and proven it again and again with interviews that coaches and quarterbacks tend to be pretty terrible interviews.
Yep.
But they're also really famous.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, what's happened around here is I've become less and less interested in talking to the coaches and the quarterbacks, and I'm just curious. Once upon a time, if I told you in Miami, the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins is coming up in 15 minutes, there's no one who's going anywhere, even if it's Dan Marino, who never said anything interesting, ever.
Right. Yeah, everyone would stay there. I mean, they would stay in their cars to listen to an interview with Dan Marino.
Well, is it still so? Is that still so? Guillermo, put that on the poll. Will you stay in your car to listen to the interview with the quarterback? Has that changed for you?
I think it's city to city. So I think people in New England would probably sit in their cars to listen to Tom Brady, even knowing he's going to say nothing.
He's not going to say anything.
Not going to say a word. I think people in Green Bay would stay in their cars to listen to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not certain people down here would do that.
Aaron Rodgers at least has some personality.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers might say something.
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers actually has a big personality. He keeps most of it tucked away.
All right, I think people in Dallas would sit in their cars to listen to Tony Romo or to Dak Prescott. I do not think that's the case. I don't think people in New York are sitting in their cars waiting for Mike Francesa to talk to Josh McCown.
Oh, you're wrong here. We're in the minority.
Really?
Football still rules, man. You want to hear the leader of your team speak. That's always a big get on radio.
What if he's a bad leader, crappy leader?
I don't know what you're doing there. Like, people want to hear the quarterback talk.
Well, Mike, I'm a Jets fan.
Either way.
I'm a Jets fan, and if I had to get somewhere, I'm telling you, I'm not sitting in my car to listen to Josh McCown. I might go back and listen to it later, but I'm certainly not sitting in my car.
That's not the debate, whether or not you would stay in your car. We're talking about the majority of people, and I think the majority of people... Listen, man, no one's actually sitting in their car, but they're into it, is what I'm saying. They're not tuning out if they're available.
No one's sitting in their car. I know that young people now do this by podcast, and fewer and fewer people are listening.
They'll listen live on their app, and they'll step out of their car.
Nobody's listening in their car. What a snob you are.
I know.
You just said to Stugotz that he's applying his sensibilities by saying that the thing that he thinks is the thing everyone thinks.
It's a dated cliche.
Well, is it? I've stayed in my car recently to listen to something.
You're old school, man. It's cool.
I did it yesterday, as a matter of fact.
I understand.
I was texting with you about it.
You're old school.
What did you stay in your car to listen to?
I was listening to the Barstool guys on with Ryan Russillo.
Were they good?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just starting to listen to these guys, and because Mike has told me to check out their podcast, so I've just started to listen to the podcast. I'm going to give it some time because we asked people to give this show some time and give me some time, give you some time, so I'll give it some time, and I'll listen to more episodes. What I heard yesterday was okay.
What I heard yesterday was a very difficult navigation.
Right.
That's a very tough spot for everybody involved. You're cleaning up their act. Rosillo's in a really tough spot because a lot of people are nervous over there, so it was certainly challenging.
They're the new thing with young people.
Yeah, I think PFT is really talented. I like his gimmick. He's playing a character.
Well, see, that's smart. That's smart. What he does, and if you don't know what PFT is, it's I don't know what PFT stands for.
Pro Football Talk Commentator. Like that was his whole thing. Like he became popular on Twitter and commenting in the section, and he's just like super cliche, like gas bag talking head, but it's all a character.
It's Colbert for sports.
Correct.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm surprised no one's done that before now. The idea of being Mike Myers as you see what Mike Myers is doing with the Gong Show, where he's not even identifying himself as Mike Myers. He's created a totally different persona, which is famed British game show host.
Funny.
So-and-so, and he's never breaking character. He's wandering around doing the talk show circuit, and he's not doing it as Mike Myers. He's doing it as this crappy character. He's done this before. He did this on Saturday Night Live.
His career is basically like even dating back to So I Married an Axe Murderer. He plays multiple characters and it's in character. We actually tried to get in on interviewing the host of the Gong Show, but they passed on it. It was Mike Myers in character, and he was going to do the whole interview not as Mike Myers. You cannot bring that up. It's not Mike Myers. But unfortunately, they decided we weren't a fit. Was that? I don't know. It's a
Weird.
bummer.
Yeah. What made yesterday tricky, Mike is right, is those two guys by themselves a lot better. It was a difficult navigation for Ryan Russillo. It was. That's tough. Plus, you have the expectation of funny, and that's so hard to meet sometimes when you go into it with the expectation of funny.
And there were just a couple of like really awkward interviews. Like they should have just like probably just talked and tried to build some chemistry. But like I don't see how bringing Teddy Bruschi into the
Bruschi?
Oh yeah, Bruschi was in there.
You can't.
They're like going at Bruschi.
You can't put Bruschi in there.
Yeah.
What's
they went at Ravel too. Like the Ravel thing was really awkward and entertaining because it was awkward. But there were just awkward silences. Like they've never worked together. It's tough.
Right.
But credit to ESPN for taking the swing.
People do love Barstool, man. Like, they love it.
Well, that's a whole thing. Like, these guys are sort of trying to carve out their own brand, and it's supposed to be, like, kind of a separate entity. Like, they both sort of need each other right now, and it seems confusing to me because part of my take seems to be living on its own as its own brand, but it's still very much connected to Barstool, and Barstool will promote the hell out of it. It's tricky because...
You are really talking inside here. Do you realize that? Do you know most of the people listening right now have no idea what we're talking about with Pardon My Take and Barstool?
Well, Pardon My Take is like the second most popular. If you look on Apple Podcasts, it's number 2. What they've built in 15 months is actually pretty incredible. The younger people probably have at least heard of Pardon My Take, and at this point, Barstool's sort of taken after the Gawker takedown, they sort of slid into the lane that Deadspin used to occupy, as Deadspin has sort of more matured since the whole Hulk Hogan thing. And there's a pass there with Barstool where they were, and even still, they do some misogynistic posts.
No, they're raunchy.
They're very raunchy. They're very crass.
One of the reasons they're popular with frat boys is because they'll do things that simply will not be done anywhere else where there are journalism standards.
And that's not to say that the Pardon My Take guys can't be crass. It's certainly not suitable for work if you're listening to it, but they are different than Barstool, or at least are trying to be, and I don't know how much they're succeeding in that.
So that kept Stugotz in the car, and Mike Ryan's a snob because Mike Ryan now says nobody listens to the radio in their car, is what Mike Ryan has announced.
No, I'm saying like if I really need to go someplace, I know I can catch up to it later. It's not like, I'm going to miss Josh McCown talking Jets football. I can pull it up on my phone and get my grocery shopping done.
I thought it's that you didn't want to miss a moment. I think one of the appeals of this show is that it can at any point unpredictably go right into the ditch and you don't want to miss it. I thought that's the reason you guys want to pay for Mayweather, that Mayweather fight, because you don't want to miss in the event that Conor McGregor actually knocks him out. You don't want to miss it. Right. You don't want to check it out on highlights an hour later.
Right. We're not Mayweather McGregor.
Yeah. I mean, we're not. It's a good point. We're close.
Times have changed where that cliche, like, so you're not listening to it live on your phone as you're walking and shopping through groceries, but you know you can at least get back to it before you would stay in your car because you would miss something. This wasn't even that long ago.
That is a big difference, the fact that you can go back and listen to it. So if I had that, if I had the ability to do that when I was growing up listening to Mike and the Mad Dog, perhaps I would not have stayed in my car for as long as I did. I used to just drive around my neighborhood because
you're pathetic.
Yep.
This show has been around so long. That's such a good line. I should have let that sit.
I know. Yes. We used to be the young thing. Bomani was lamenting this the other day. He's no longer the young person on Around the Horn. Bomani is like he's a senior.
At least he's on Around the Horn.
Yeah.
But just think about just like how when we started, you guys, like I caught up like about maybe 12 months after you guys started, like how much the industry has changed. And the industry itself is still struggling to catch up because everything is changing so fast. People used to write down in diaries how much they used to listen to stuff, and they would lie about it all the time. And that's how people paid for advertising.
No, but now we do it. We do it not as ridiculously, but the way the ratings measurements work now are ridiculous as well.
Yeah, yeah, we're still lagging behind.
Like, Mike, we have Jon Stewart on the show on Monday, someone that Dan has wanted for a very, very long time. If you weren't working on the show, are you telling me you would not? And Dan was promoting Jon Stewart's coming up. You wouldn't stay in your car if you could for an extra 10 minutes to listen to that interview? Because I would.
You're talking to me? No, I wouldn't stay in my car. I would catch up on the podcast. I don't think it's safe to say that I'm not going to read any spoilers on Twitter, so I think at lunch I can catch the interview if I'm really excited to hear it, which I would be. Jon Stewart, Monday, 10:15.
That's a good get, Allison. I've been wanting him for a while.
Yeah.
He's promoting the Warrior Games. It's a cause that's close to his heart, so he's getting out there, and he doesn't do much, but he obviously feels strongly about this.
Guillermo, how do you feel about this first segment? Because I've seen you drifting away, sort of mentally drifting away, probably thinking about some of the baby sausages you have in your bag.
I mean, we've done better. I mean,
no, but I know we've done better. That's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is, it feels like the subject matter is something that's tedious to you.
It's so boring. Like, honestly, come on. We're talking about how we listen to the radio. Mm-hmm. Please, you think I'm listening to sports radio when I get out of here? I'm downloading podcasts. You're out of your mind.
Yeah. You're probably right. We should talk about something more interesting, like Marlins baseball.
Does Guillermo listen to any podcasts?
No.
Nothing?
No. Do you think I get out of here and I'm like, oh my God, I need to know what Ryan Russillo has to say about this? Oh, I wonder what Mike Francesa says about the same topic we've been talking about for 4 hours.
This is interesting, though. See, this is interesting. This thing that's happened is interesting, and I've found that it's happened more and more. There are so many people out there talking and giving their opinions that I do believe that what has happened here is that many people listening like their one or two things, and it's all they can commit to. That once they commit to their one or two things, they don't need any of the other stuff. That it doesn't matter what the Batard show is saying about X, because I like Mike, and I don't, and it's just ESPN is giving you this menu, and many of you have a bunch of food allergies, and the food allergies are often to us.
There's only so many opinions that can be had.
Right.
So I don't need to hear 10,000 people give them.
I feel like we have reached the end of the internet on opinion giving. I really do, because I don't want to hear much of anyone's opinion on anything. I have arrived there. Which is just get off my lawn, old person stuff, because it's dangerous once you've lost your intellectual curiosity. The good thing about Stugotz is that he didn't lose it because he never had it.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Texter writes in, talk some puck.
Stugotz.
Puck you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
Tannehill, do you even know why you're our nemesis? Do you know why?
I think it goes back a couple of years to the Robo QB thing.
Yeah, because you don't give anything. Good memory. You don't give us anything when we try to interview, so we're going to try and get something out of him now. Stugotz was just complaining. During the break, we learned Amazon just bought Whole Foods for $13.7 billion in cash.
Yeah, it's incredible, man.
And
wow.
And Stugotz was lamenting Amazon, its existence, because every day he shows up and gets mad at the UPS driver because he's dropping off something else that his wife has bought.
It's the only way my wife shops. Ryan, I'm every single afternoon I get home, at minimum, there are 2 to 3 Amazon packages sitting right outside my door.
So what's something that your wife would say, Ryan, is a pet peeve of hers about things that you do that she doesn't like?
She hates when I leave the dish towel wadded up on the by the sink.
Haven't you learned to
happens every day?
Why? Okay.
Every day.
All right, but why don't you stop doing that?
Because it annoys her. Say it, Tannehill.
No.
Because I knock it into the sink. You know, I rinse off some dishes. I knock it into the sink. It always ends up getting soaked. I have to wash it, get a new one. So I just kind of wad it up and throw it, on the other side of the sink, and then I forget about it. And then she comes in, and then she's mad again. So, you win some, you lose some. I'll just lose that battle.
Okay, very good. I'm curious here. Go ahead, Stugotz.
I was going to ask, what does she do that annoys Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, you shouldn't have asked.
My wife is a perfect little angel.
Oh, come on,
Yeah,
Tannehill.
yeah, you shouldn't have asked that. Yes, he's not going to do that publicly. Are you not familiar? Are you not familiar with this man's work on this front? He's not going to take out his wife on the radio.
Listen, I live with her. I'm not going to air out any dirty laundry on the radio.
Right.
You just have to understand that.
That's been my mistake
All
for
right,
years.
just that, what she does to annoy you is she leaves things sometimes in the rental car.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Good answer, Dan.
By the way, you can meet Ryan at the grand opening of the new Dick's Sporting Goods store, Dadeland Station, this Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. If you want more information, visit dicks.com/South Florida. You're a father. Do you have any good father stories for us? New father stories, things that you don't know how to do, things that you're embarrassed by?
There were a ton of things I didn't know how to do. You know, they send you home with this baby, and you know you're strapping him in your car seat, and you're like, "Am I doing this right? Can they get someone to check it? Is there a manual for this thing?" And they're just like, you know, waving at you. Have a good luck with everything. And you go home, and you got to change these black tar diapers that really kind of disgust you, but it's your kid, so you don't want to be disgusted. So there's definitely a learning curve. But I've been peed on, I've been pooed on,
Nice.
been thrown up on, slobbered all over.
All right.
So yeah, there's some stuff that people don't want to talk about, but it happens.
All right, well, I want to talk about it, and we found a gold mine here.
Yes.
So give me, how many black tar diapers has Ryan Tannehill changed? Give me a number.
I don't know, probably like 3 or 4. They only happen right whenever he's a newborn. So first couple days, it's just those black tar poos. After that, I've changed countless diapers. There's no number that I can count. There's a lot of poo diapers, but the black tar ones are only right after he's born.
How many times has Ryan Tannehill been changing a diaper and the baby urinates right in your face? Get you in the face.
Probably like 3.
Yeah, happened to me. Yep.
Here's a good story, right? So this happened during last football season. I'm going to change him, and you know, I get his diaper off, I clean it up. It's not a poo diaper, just a pee diaper. Get him diaper off, clean him up. About that time, he starts spitting up. Right, so he's laying on his back, so I try to like sit him up so he's not like choking on it and wipe it off his face. He's a newborn. I can't really do anything at this point. So I start wiping off his face. Well, then, poo, straight onto my hand because I'm holding him now. Straight onto my hand.
Right?
Right? And so I'm like, oh, no way, oh. Then I hear, now he's peeing also, splashing on the floor, in my shirt, in my face. It was unbelievable. I really had all 3 bodily fluids at the same time. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Is there a fourth option? Like, what else could he have done just to show you, look, I'm in charge of your life now?
Nothing. At that moment, I knew I was in for it. I didn't own my life anymore.
So give us some Ryan Tannehill stories about just sort of being scared. You mentioned that you know you're going home, putting him in the car seat, and you're like, "Am I doing this right?" There have to be a million of those.
Yeah, I mean, there's all types of things. You know, if I'm parenting right, do I watch him closely enough? My wife always gets on to me because she'll leave me with the baby, and you know, I'll set him down and then turn my back for what I think is probably about 5 seconds. It's usually a lot longer than that, if I'm going to be honest with you. And then I hear like a crash behind me. I look behind me, and he's like into something. So there's always a bit of a fear whenever I'm on watch that I just don't want him to get hurt too badly or mess up anything where I'm going to get in trouble.
Ever forget that the baby is there? Has that happened?
No.
No?
Actually, one time. My brother was in town, and I was on baby duty. My wife was out of the house, and this is a few months ago during the off season. It's during his nap time in the afternoon. I'm out back on the boat, working on my boat, and it's been a little while. My brother looks at me and goes, "Hey, do you think we should check on Steele?" I'm like, "Oh crap! I forgot I had a baby in there."
It happens, man.
Have you had any incredibly scary situations yet that in retrospect?
Just to finish that though, he was still sleeping and totally fine. So.
Okay, all right.
All right, you need to finish that so the headlines don't say Dolphins quarterback, and we're going to call, baby services on you. We don't want that.
No, not at all.
Have you had any moments that are really scary in the moment but aren't actually scary now that you've had some experience and you know that it's not something to be scared of?
I think the first time that he got sick, I think I was actually out of town. He was just a couple weeks old, and we were on an away trip, and he got really sick, wouldn't eat, got super dehydrated, and had to go to the hospital, get IVs, and so that was pretty scary, honestly. I mean, it's tough. You have this little baby that's totally innocent, can't do anything, and you just feel kind of helpless. So that was scary. I mean, looking back on it, it wasn't a huge deal because he's totally fine. But in the moment, I was pretty scared.
Again,
about it.
You can meet Ryan at the grand opening of the new Dick's Sporting Goods store, Dadeland Station, this Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. For more information, visit dicks.com/South Florida. Have you gotten used to no longer being your wife's priority?
Yeah, it happened real quickly. One day a few weeks ago, I look at her, I'm like, hey, raise my hand, like, hey, I'm still here. He's like, oh, I know. She does a good job. She really does. I just like giving her a hard time.
I love the idea that you are now, who's the guy in your huddle most likely to do that because he feels like he's always open? Hey, I'm still here. Ryan, I'm still here.
Name one guy who won't do that.
Okay,
that's more like it.
But there's not one above all others that's most likely to remind you, hey, I'm still here.
Listen, every receiver wants the ball, and that's the way you want it. So I don't really have a problem with that.
How much sleep you getting?
Honestly, I sleep great because he started sleeping through the night when he was about 2 months old.
Nice.
And he's been going through the night ever since. So he goes for like 12 and a half hours straight, and that's a huge blessing.
12 and a half hours straight?
Lucky,
Good
man.
God, how fortunate did you get? And you're complaining about black tar diapers and pee in your face. Like 12 and a half hours straight. Are you kidding me?
Listen, I wish I slept as good as this kid does. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Has it changed your life at all? Like in what kind of ways has it changed your life?
I mean, it totally changes your life. The days of going out to dinner with your wife on a whim, taking a quick vacation on a whim, going on a weekend trip, getting out of the house on every afternoon just to do something, go on the boat, go fishing, whatever. Everything has to be planned now. You have to get a babysitter. You have to plan to take the kid instead of just hopping in the car. Now you're packing the whole freaking car full of diapers and stroller and food and diaper. I mean, it's
so wait a minute, Tannehill, you're the
how
guy.
Much crap that babies need.
Tannehill, are you the guy? You don't have any help. Like you're the guy. Whenever you go somewhere that's just lugging around, you got a stuffed animal under your armpit. You got too many bags in that arm that's kind of valuable, and we need to keep healthy. Like you're the guy.
I'm the guy stumbling, into the hotel with 3 bags and a stroller and everything else that the baby needs.
Dad, man.
It's funny. I mean, I know he's a dad, but you need. How do you feel? Are you against the idea of help?
No, not at all. But sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. So when it's not here, you got to make it happen.
All right. Is anyone else surprised? Guillermo, put this on the poll. Are you surprised that Ryan Tannehill is changing a lot of diapers? Who's the guy in your locker room that's not changing any diapers? Not a one.
I don't know. Marino told me to mess up the first diaper I ever changed. That way I never had to change one again.
See, that's such good advice.
Exactly.
See, give me more wisdom like that Marino has given you. That is such good advice, and you fouled it up, incidentally.
I did. On purpose. I purposely fouled it up. I couldn't do that. But let's see, what else is he? His favorite one is just, hey, pick your guy and let it fly. That's his go-to line. yeah, pick a guy and let it fly. I'm wondering, who's the guy in your locker room that you simply would not like to take care of the baby? Like he's not taking care of the baby. You got to go. It's an emergency. He's nearby, and you're like, no, we're staying. We're not going anywhere. There's probably a few guys that that I definitely wouldn't want to leave him with on first option. Let's see. Probably Damian Williams.
Okay.
Right.
And who do you know you can trust the baby with? Like, this is that everybody in the family would be okay with this person being responsible for the baby.
For how long are we talking here? That's the whole question.
You know, like a night or something like that.
A
Like,
night?
you go out for a night.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're too young. They're you're not even comfortable yet leaving the baby for a night, are you?
We've left him a couple times, but with family.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents will come in. We had to go to a wedding a few weeks ago, so my parents flew in and watched him. So, just with family. Eventually, we'll be able to get away, but it's always nice to have family watch him.
How rip-roaring drunk does Ryan Tannehill get at weddings?
Not usually very, very rip-roaring.
Do you dance?
Depends on the setting. It depends on if I know everyone there and feel safe. If so, then I'll have a good time. If not, then, you know, you always have to watch yourself.
Do you dance?
I do. Like I said, if I feel comfortable with the space, feel safe, then I'll let loose.
How good a dancer are you?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a decent dancer when I'm doing it. I'm probably really bad, honestly, but you know, that's just kind of the way it goes. You just let it rip.
Do you need many drinks to dance, or you'll go in sober?
I used to dance sober a lot in college,
Right.
but now probably one drink.
All right. Karaoke song of your choice. Give us a karaoke song of your choice.
Oh, if the music's really loud, it doesn't matter really any song that I know the words to. But if you can hear yourself at all, forget about it. I don't want to make your ears bleed.
Okay, but give me one. Give me one that if we're having a karaoke party. In fact, I'm planning this right now. Karaoke with Ryan Tannehill. Dick's Sporting Goods, Dadeland Station, this Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. For more information, visit dicks.com.
You're bringing out a karaoke machine to Dick's Sporting Goods?
Listen, don't
South
disappoint
Florida.
the people, Dan. You can't disappoint the people. They're going to show up thinking we're going to karaoke, and it's not going to happen.
Okay, but if we did karaoke, what is the one song Ryan Tannehill would sing?
Oh, man. Depends what the mood is.
Well, what's your mood right now?
Relaxing.
I mean, you are evading this question like it's a pass rush, man. All right, you don't want any parts of this question. All right, let me just ask you this question before we get you out of here. Again, you can meet Ryan at the grand opening of the new Dick's Sporting Goods store, Dadeland Station, this Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. For more information, visit dicks.com/South Florida. Scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you that we haven't asked you how's the knee? 10 being the happiest.
I'll give it a 10.
Okay.
I'll give it a 10.
All right, you give it a 10. How about would you prefer that every interview be about subjects like this instead of football? Yes or no?
100%.
Yeah, that's funny how that works.
100%.
How's the knee, by the way?
You had to go there. You really had to go there. You almost made it. I mean, you were literally
We couldn't help it.
almost there. You
We couldn't
saw the
help
finish
it.
line, and then you couldn't help it.
We couldn't help it. I mean, it's right there. All right, Ryan, thank you for being on with us. Good talking to you, sir.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, you know, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Dan Le Batard.
Hey, gravy vampire.
I'll stop laughing at these. I'm sorry.
Gravy vampire is good, right?
Stugotz.
I don't even know what it means exactly. Like, what am I doing? Am I just showing up while you're eating gravy and I wait for you to consume it and then I attack your neck so I can get the gravy as it goes down?
You suck the gravy out of people.
Right, okay, but I just hang out at like Golden Corral waiting for people to put extra gravy. Like, How does this extraordinarily niche vampire work?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
Ryan Tannehill with a Varsity Blues reference in the middle of that. That is as relaxed as you will hear Ryan Tannehill being interviewed. I know many of you are complaining, saying what a terrible segment. You guys are awful because you wanted to hear football questions, and we didn't ask any of those. And I get it.
He wouldn't have answered them. That's the point.
That's the thing. Like, that's the frustration.
I did ask how the knee was. I mean,
yeah. Did he answer it? I don't remember.
Nope.
No, I think we just yelled at each other. Let me ask you guys this question. Who do you want? You can only have one. Who do you want, Blake Griffin or Gordon Hayward?
Wow, that's a great question. I'd probably go Gordon Hayward.
Hayward, easy for me.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, Blake's hurt a lot, man.
Easy for me.
Well, I would say Hayward as well, just because it's costing you money and not anything else. You'd have to give up something to get Blake, right? Or no, he's
Blake,
a free agent
Blake's
too.
Blake's a free agent.
He's a free agent too.
Those are the two marquee free agents.
Mike, have you looked at Blake's numbers?
I like Blake a lot as a player. But I think Gordon Hayward would be such a better fit here. I think he'd be fantastic down here. I really do. And I'm a big fan of Gordon Hayward as a player and watching him. And I used to be a huge fan of Blake Griffin, and I don't think there's a bad answer here. Be happy with either of those talents, but I really think Gordon Hayward's star is on the rise.
I do think there's a bad answer because Blake hasn't played more than 70 games in 3 years. It's 67 games, 35 games, 61 games this year.
I mean, certainly a valid concern. And if you watch Clippers basketball this year, I know that there's a lot going on with their team. He doesn't necessarily fit. He's kind of regressed. I don't know if it's the injuries or just his role, but he's not as good as he was a couple years ago.
Well, hold on a second. Let's analyze this for a second, because Stugotz said Gordon Hayward easy. I don't think what I'm saying is easy. I don't think I put these two guys next to each other. There's an easy on this. I think what I'm suggesting to you is close.
Okay.
And I find interesting what's happening here, because if Gordon Hayward is your best player, what you're going to be is the Jazz.
Jazz went to the Western Conference semifinals this year, right?
And the Clippers do that fairly regularly.
Once in a while.
I mean, if you put the Jazz in the East, you can make a solid argument that they're maybe the second best team. They're certainly right there with the Celtics.
I don't think – see, here's the thing, though. Is Gordon Hayward a better player than Blake Griffin? Because he hasn't been.
Well, I mean, Dan, this year – and this was his best year. He was 40% from three, 47% from the field, and averaged 22 a game.
I mean, but Blake's 50%. Like, he's not a three-point shooter.
Yeah, and he also plays a different game.
He comes from a different time in basketball,
sure.
So he's not going to be a three-point shooter for you. But Blake is he's a higher percentage shooter. Look up this for me, please, because I don't know what the answer to this is. What is Blake numerically per 36 minutes? Do me a favor and look that up, because I think it's going to surprise you guys. And I think, furthermore, that once these numbers are in front of you, Blake Griffin per 36 minutes, that you're going to be like, okay, wait a minute. If you told me this player was available, period, didn't tell me it was Blake Griffin, didn't tell me it came with these injuries, didn't come with this distrust of the Clippers organization and everything else, if I just said to you, here's what's available to you, Gordon Hayward or this per 36 minutes.
You want last year for his career? He's 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4.2 assists. He shoots 51% from the field.
That's better than Gordon Hayward.
I'm going to check Gordon's right now.
No, it's better than Gordon Hayward.
Well, for career, yeah. But
isn't it better than Gordon Hayward last year?
I'm not necessarily sure. We'll have to look that up. But it's not as good as Blake Griffin was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Certainly not. He's not the same player. And I think what makes this, when you throw a blanket, easy, I'd be happy with either. They're on the opposite. Their career seems to be going in different directions right now. Gordon's on the way up, improving every year. Mm-hmm. And Blake's very clearly gotten worse through injuries and fit.
For the career, Blake is better. You're right. Gordon was better last year.
What was Gordon last year?
He was 23 points per game. He was 5.6 rebounds, 3.6 assists. He shot 47% from the field. He shot 40% from three.
Yeah, if I'm getting Blake Griffin from 2 years ago, I'd say I'd take that Blake Griffin. And who's to say he can't do that again? But it seems as though like the Clippers aren't necessarily going to miss him. It looks as though they're going to try to get somebody else and let him go. I'm not entirely sure, but like Stephen A. rips Blake Griffin constantly because you watch the games and you're like, what is this guy doing? He's a mid-range jump shooter. That's not the Blake Griffin, this dynamic superstar player anymore. He's a different guy now.
That's Blake's it'll be interesting to watch Blake's game age.
Sure.
With injury, because the game comes from a different time of basketball.
And also, I sort of have that sort of heat bias where you say, if Gordon Hayward's your best player, then you're not going after it. I think if you get Gordon Hayward, he isn't going to end up being your best player because he's a very attractive piece that can land a whale out there.
Kind of a similar team to what Utah had with Whiteside. I mean, it was Hayward and Gobert.
Yeah,
and Whiteside here.
And at that point, it just all how much do you value and take into account how good they were after the All-Star break, and how much do you believe that team is what they were post All-Star break as opposed to what they were before?
You guys know that Hayward. I'm guessing, right? I shouldn't say know this. I'm guessing that if you get Hayward, it's probably no waiters.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yep, we're aware.
Probably. There's a hot scenario out there. There was I don't know how much credence that report is, and especially Paul George had very positive comments after his meeting with Kevin Pritchard, but there were reports out there that Paul George wants to team up with Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward went to school in Indiana. Maybe he's talking about there. He'd like to comment, go to Miami, Paul George. And obviously you get excited because Gordon Hayward, everyone thinks if he's leaving Utah, it's a slam dunk that he's going to team up with his old coach and Brad Stevens, but he's interested in Miami. Those whispers are only getting louder.
Man, I find this one interesting.
Can't James Johnson do some of what Blake Griffin does?
Yes.
Because his per 36 last year was very good.
Yeah, but he's going to cost you a lot of money.
I understand that.
He's not going to cost you as much as Blake Griffin's going to cost you, considering the career that he's put out there and just career trajectory. There's a lot of people that really love what James Johnson does down here, and there might be some avid fans that would take James Johnson over Blake Griffin at this point.
Well, here's some of the things that are happening here. That's ridiculous what you just said, but okay.
I don't think it's ridiculous to say that there's some super fans out there that have totally bought in on this is who James Johnson is now.
Few things that are interesting about all of this. I'm always made uncomfortable. I remember when this happened with the Marlins, and the 1 year they decided to spend, whatever free agents happened to be available that year, Jose Reyes, Mark Burley, Albert Pujols, that was the year they chose to spend, and so it wasn't a long-term plan. It wasn't a plan of any sort. It's just, these are the free agents that are available. We have money. These are the guys we're going after. And so here's where you are with the Miami Heat. Gordon Hayward is not someone you would have wanted a year ago on your team as your best piece. Nope. You simply wouldn't. And now you're going to give him $130 million, and you're going to handcuff yourself because he's the guy who happens to be available in what is a cruddy free agent year. Mm-hmm. It's a bad free agent year when you got everybody competing over Gordon Hayward and Blake Griffin. And I know that Heat fans want to get better, but man, it's a little bit short-sighted. It feels a little bit short-sighted to me to say, okay, the free agent who's available is Gordon Hayward. That's all we got. We're going to build around him, and we're going to see if he can lure us something when the standard is what's in Golden State.
So what do? You wait for the next free agent class?
You got to think bigger than that.
Potentially, but I think you also have to think bigger. I don't think the Gordon Hayward and you just clap your hands and boom, you're done. I think of it as a piece, not necessarily your best piece. It might be your best piece for the moment, but Riley's not going into a season or targeting a season with Gordon Hayward as his best player.
The reason I bring it up is this is the danger of your franchise being run by a guy who right now at the end is impatient.
Right.
Like, he's got to do something here because he's playing for now. And I'm not sure anybody should be playing for now, given what you just saw Golden State doing. You're wasting your time playing for now.
Well, take into account the reports of LeBron James very likely heading out to Los Angeles. Okay, LeBron's out of the East then. He's been running amok through this conference. East is totally up for grabs. You put that Miami Heat team in the playoffs right now without the Cavs in it, and you like your chances. It's a lot more competitive. So it's a different world.
You don't have a chance.
I think you have a chance in the East if you just add Gordon
Hayward.
That's
not a real chance. Having a chance in the East is not having a real chance. Getting to the finals is not having a real chance.
You have to be better than Golden State.
I understand if you want to win a title.
Well, that's what Riley wants to do.
Okay,
but
Riley's not playing for second place.
Okay, but guys, baby steps. You make it to an Eastern Conference. You make it to the NBA Finals. And then that offseason, the big free agents are going to pick your team and okay, I can't join Golden State. Their salary cap is set. I'm going to join this team. It doesn't, you're not going to be better, obviously, the following year, but these are all pieces that can get you competitive with the Golden State Warriors within a couple of years.
There will be no competitive with the Golden State Warriors.
But look, there's money at stake. There's money at stake. There's a lot of money at stake in getting that far in the playoffs, and you're going to take your shot. if you're going to play the Golden State Warriors in the finals, that's a good season.
You are snowed by how hopeful you are about this stuff.
But maybe Riley knows that no one can compete with that team, the Golden State Warriors, and he just wants to leave whenever he decides to leave. We have no idea when that is. He just wants to leave the organization in good shape moving forward.
That's fantastic shape. And I understand where Dan's coming from because this franchise has been about championships. I feel like the math has changed. And you're over here poo-pooing an Eastern Conference championship, and I'm not anymore.
Well, but Gordon Hayward being your best player gets you swept by Golden State in 4 games, all of them by double digits.
Cool. And having LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love almost got you swept in 4 games. So
but that's what I'm saying.
The math has changed.
But what I'm saying, though, is your organization is run by somebody who's trying to do something in the short term. And what I'm telling you is that everything now has to be pushed into the long term, that you're wasting your time and your money going for it now. Nobody's a piece away. And the Heat certainly are not. They didn't even make, in that cruddy East, they didn't even make the playoffs. That totally dysfunctional Chicago team, for as exciting as the last half of the season was, they didn't even make the playoffs in a terrible conference. And now you throw all your money at Gordon Hayward, and what? He's the free agent who happens to be available. I understand that I'm poo-pooing on your hope, but what I'm telling you is that for a couple of years, there is no hope. It's hopeless.